The boy on the corner, KeanuReeves, didn't plan to be in that part of town. He had finished a quiet meeting in downtown Los Angeles and asked his driver to take a detour. Something about the day felt heavy, and Keanu often found peace in the randomness of unfamiliar streets. He rolled down the car window, letting the city sounds and smells remind him he was just a person in a moving world. It was nearing sunset, the sky glowing in soft orange and purple hues. They stopped at a red light near a rundown neighborhood. Across the street stood a boy, maybe 11, maybe 12, thin as a stick, holding a torn cardboard sign that read, "Help my mom smile today." Keanu stared at the sign. The words weren't begging for food or money. They weren't dramatic or loud. Just those 5 words. Simple, quiet, powerful. The boy didn't call out. He wasn't moving from car to car like others usually did. He stood still, respectful, eyes focused on the ground, not trying to make anyone uncomfortable. Behind him, Keanu noticed a small woman, probably his mother, sitting on a folding chair with a bandaged foot. Her eyes were tired but calm. Next to her was a thermos and a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in foil. "Stop the car," Keanu said gently. His driver hesitated. This wasn't a typical stop. "Pull over, please," Keanu repeated. The car eased into a parking spot just ahead. Keanu stepped out, putting on a hoodie to stay low profile. As he walked toward the boy, he felt something inside him shift. Not pity, not guilt, something deeper, something like recognition. The boy noticed him, but didn't react like most people. Did? No wide eyes, no pointing, no gasps. He simply looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "Hello, sir." Keanu nodded. "Hello." They stood in silence for a moment. "Your sign," Keanu said slowly. "It's ... The boy shrugged. "I just want her to smile today." Keanu looked toward the woman. She noticed them and gave a gentle wave. Her smile was small, but real. "What's her name?" Keanu asked. "Her name is Janice," the boy replied. "She used to be a nurse." Keanu lowered himself to the boy's level. "What happened?" The boy hesitated. "She hurt her foot and lost her job. Then our landlord said we had to leave. Now we're staying with a friend, but he's sick too. I don't want to bother him too much." "And your name?" Keanu asked. "Eli," he said, "Eli." A name that felt old and brave. Keanu looked around. Cars moved past, barely glancing at the scene. But to Keanu it felt like time had stopped. In this one corner of the world, a child had chosen kindness. Not just for survival, but to give joy to someone he loved. Keanu reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. Eli shook his head. "I'm not asking for money," he said quietly. "I know," Keanu said, his voice soft, "but would it be okay if I helped anyway?" Eli looked back at his mother. She gave a small nod, almost embarrassed. Keanu pulled out a few bills and handed them over. But he didn't stop there. "Do you mind if I talk to your mom?" he asked. Eli nodded and led him over. Janice tried to stand when she saw him, but Keanu gently motioned for her to stay seated. "You raised a good boy," Keanu said. She smiled. "I've made a lot of mistakes, but I tried to teach him one thing. Be kind, no matter what." Keanu sat down on the sidewalk beside her. He didn't care if anyone saw him. This wasn't for show. This was real. "What would make you smile today?" he asked. She laughed softly. "A warm meal, maybe? But really, just knowing he'll be okay." Keanu felt a tightness in his chest. These weren't people looking for a handout. They were holding on with everything they had, and somehow still choosing hope. "Let me take you both somewhere," he said. "Dinner? Somewhere warm? My treat?" Janice hesitated. "We don't want to trouble you, you're not," Keanu said. "It would mean a lot to me." After some convincing, she agreed. Eli helped her up slowly, and together they walked toward the car. The driver looked surprised but said nothing. Inside the vehicle, Eli sat wide-eyed, gently running his fingers along the seat material like it was made of gold. Keanu took them to a small Italian place he loved, quiet, respectful, the kind of place where no one stared. The staff recognized him but understood the look on his face. "Don't make a scene." They ate pasta and warm bread. Janice laughed for the first time in weeks. Eli talked about books he liked and how he used to help his mom hand out medicine at her old job. They didn't talk about money or fame or sadness, just life. After the meal, Keanu quietly paid and told the manager to pack a few extra meals for them to take home. As they stepped out into the night, Janice reached out and gently touched his arm. "I don't know what made you stop," she said, "but thank you. Tonight you made me feel like a person again." Keanu looked at her eyes, filled with something raw. You never stopped being one. He helped them into a cab and paid the fare in advance, slipping a small envelope of cash to the driver with instructions to make sure they got home safely as the cab pulled away. Eli stuck his head out the window and called out, "Hey, Mr. Reeves." "Yeah, you're—" made her smile. Keanu stood on the sidewalk long after the car disappeared. The city around him kept moving, but inside something had settled. A weight had shifted. He hadn't just helped someone. They had helped him too, sometimes. You pass by someone who's quietly holding the world together with nothing but hope and love. And if you're lucky enough to notice it, you don't walk past. You stop. And if you're really lucky, they let you be a part of their story. Asterisk whispers in the dark thought night. Keanu Reeves couldn't sleep. He had met thousands of people in his life on sets, in interviews, through red carpets and crowded airports, but something about Eli and Janice stayed. With him, their story wasn't loud. It wasn't made for cameras or headlines. It was quiet, gentle, but it cut deep. The image of that cardboard sign haunted him. "Help my mom smile today." It was more than just a request. It was a window into the soul of a child who had seen too much, too soon, and still chose kindness around. 2 a.m., Keanu found himself sitting on his balcony with a mug of cold tea. The city lights sparkled below, but he wasn't looking at them. He was lost in thought. What if he hadn't stopped? What if he had scrolled through his phone, lost in his own world, and missed that moment? He picked up his phone and made a quiet call. "Hey, Mark," he said to his assistant, who sounded half asleep. "I need a favor." "Sure," came the sleepy reply. "What is it?" "Find out everything you can about a woman named Janice and her son Eli. They used to live near the downtown clinic. She was a nurse. She's injured now, and they might be staying with someone." "Who's sick?" "You got it?" Mark said. "Everything okay?" Keanu paused. "I don't know, but I want to help. Not just once. For real." The next morning, the sun was sharp and the air felt different. Keanu threw on a simple black t-shirt, jeans, and his favorite boots. Nothing fancy. He didn't want to be Keanu Reeves the actor today. He wanted to be a man who kept his word. As he stepped outside, Mark was already waiting in the car. "Found her," Mark said, holding up a file. "Her full name is Janice Evans. 42, worked at a small clinic for 7 years until she got injured while helping a patient during an accident. Fractured her foot, lost mobility. No disability benefits kicked in because the clinic shut down 2 weeks later due to funding cuts." Keanu took the file and flipped through it. "Eli's been helping her since," Mark continued. It bounced. "Between shelters. But now they're staying in a small room above a friend's garage. The friend Sam was her former coworker. He's battling lung cancer." Keanu closed the file and looked out the window. "Let's visit," he said. They arrived at a narrow street lined with aging buildings. Some windows were cracked, paint peeled off the doors. But there was still life here, kids playing soccer with a deflated ball. A woman hanging laundry between windows, music softly playing from a small speaker on a window. They knocked gently on the garage door. After a moment, it opened just a little. It was Eli. His eyes lit up. "You came back," he said, half-dash whispering. Keanu smiled. "Of course. Can we come in?" Eli stepped aside, and they walked up a narrow staircase into a small, dimly lit room. Janice sat in a worn armchair, a blanket wrapped around her legs. She looked surprised but happy. "Mr. Reeves," she said. "You didn't have to." "I know," Keanu replied. "But I wanted to." The room was clean but tight. One mattress on the floor, a table with 2 chairs. A portable heater hummed in the corner. Keanu noticed Sam, the friend, lying on a thin cot by the window, coughing quietly into a towel. "How are you feeling, sir?" Keanu asked gently. Sam gave a weak smile, like I'm running a race with no finish line. They all laughed softly, even if it hurt. Eli offered Keanu a glass of water. Sorry, it's not cold, he said. Keanu took it with both hands. It's perfect. After some time, Keanu turned serious. Janice, would it be okay if I helped a bit more? Maybe find you a better place to stay? Something safer? More comfortable? Her eyes widened. You've done more than enough. Please, Keanu said. This isn't charity. This is respect. Your son showed me what real strength looks like, and now I want to return that kindness. She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she slowly nodded. But only she added firmly, if it's also for Sam, we won't leave him behind. Keanu looked over at the man who had tears in his eyes. Deal, Keanu said. Over the next hour, things moved quickly. Calls, arrangements were set. A small rental apartment was found just 2 miles away, ground floor, wheelchair accessible, furnished with 2 bedrooms. A nurse on call. Groceries delivered weekly. All expenses paid, no strings attached. They moved in that same day. As Janice stepped into the new apartment, she couldn't speak. She just stared at the clean kitchen, the soft couch, the warm lighting. Eli ran to the window and opened it. Mom, he called out, you can see the park from here. Janice sank into the couch and let out a shaky breath. I don't know what to say. Keanu sat beside her. You don't have to say anything? She looked at him with gratitude burning in her eyes. You didn't just make her smile today, Eli said from the window. You made her feel safe again. Keanu didn't answer. He simply sat there, quietly overwhelmed. But just when the day seemed to settle into peace, something unexpected happened. There was a knock on the apartment door. Keanu opened it, expecting maybe a delivery or a curious neighbor, but instead, a tall man in a black suit stood there. Mr. Reeves, he asked, holding a badge. Keanu frowned. Yes, we need to talk about Janice Evans and her past at the clinic. Everyone in the room went still. Janice's face turned pale. Eli ran to her side. What's going on? Keanu asked, stepping in front of the man. We believe she may have witnessed something. Something that could be very important. The agent said. It's about a missing patient. From 3 years ago, Keanu's jaw tightened. She's not in trouble, the man added quickly, but someone else might be. And if that person finds out she's talking to us, the agent didn't need to finish. Keanu turned back to Janice. Is this true? Her eyes were wide. I didn't know it was still open. I thought it was over. Keanu looked at the agent. Then you better tell me everything, because if someone's coming for her, they'll have to go through me first. The truth she buried. Keanu stood at the doorway, his body half shielding Janice and Eli from the man in the black suit. He wasn't acting. This was no scene from a movie. This was real, and he could feel the tension crawling up his spine. The man held out a badge again, this time more slowly. My name is Agent Thomas, with the Federal Investigative Team. Reviewing cases linked to missing patients from low-income clinics, Keanu glanced at Janice, who sat frozen on the couch. Eli gripped her hand tightly. We're not here to hurt anyone, Agent Thomas continued. But 3 years ago, your clinic reported a patient disappearance. A man named Robert Lyle. Terminal cancer. He was supposed to be under observation. The records went missing. Janice Evans was the last nurse assigned to him. Keanu stepped aside, allowing the agent in, but stayed close. Janice's lips trembled. I remember Robert. He was quiet, alone. He didn't talk much, but he wasn't supposed to die so soon. He just vanished. And no one followed up. Until now, Agent Thomas said. His family kept pressing. And now someone's been asking around? Someone dangerous? We think they want to silence anyone who might know what really happened. Janice's face went pale. Eli looked between them. Mom, are we in danger? Keanu knelt beside him. Not if I have anything to say about it. Agent Thomas sighed. Mr. Reeves, I don't mean to drag you into this, but your presence here complicates things. If this gets out, then it gets out, Keanu interrupted, standing tall. But I'm not leaving them. The agent nodded slowly. Fair enough. but we need to move fast. If someone's looking for Janice, they may already know she's out of hiding." Janice looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something I didn't tell anyone." Keanu gently encouraged her. "You can tell me." She closed her eyes. "That night, the night Robert disappeared. I was on duty. He was in pain. He told me things. Strange things. He said he wasn't just a patient, that someone had put him there under a false name, that he was being watched." Keanu frowned. "Watched? Why?" "He said he had files. Evidence. He didn't trust the hospitals, said he knew too much about something. Then he begged me to hide something for him." Janice looked at Eli. "I told him no. I was scared. But when I came back with the supervisor, he was gone. Just gone." Keanu's voice was calm, but firm. "Did he leave anything behind?" Janice hesitated. Then she got up, limping slightly, and reached into a small storage bag near the heater. From inside, wrapped in layers of old t-shirts, she pulled out a tiny, rusted key. "I kept this." She said, "He slipped it into my pocket when I wasn't looking. I didn't know what to do with it." Agent Thomas stepped forward. "May I?" She handed it over. The agent studied it. "This is a storage locker key," he said. "An old style. We can trace the number." Keanu folded his arms. "Then let's go. I can't take civilians." The agent began. "I'm going," Keanu said, his voice low. "You don't have to explain it to me. Just lead the way." The agent hesitated, then nodded. "We go now. And keep your phone off." Before leaving, Keanu turned to Eli.
Stay.
"With your mom, keep the doors locked. I'll be back." Eli looked scared but brave. "Promise?" Keanu bent down and locked eyes with him. "I promise. You made your mom smile. Now I'll make sure no one takes that away." They drove across the city, through older neighborhoods, until they reached a forgotten corner behind a warehouse district. The storage facility looked half abandoned. Ivy climbed the rusted fence. The lights flickered. "Locker 51, Agent Thomas said." Holding the key tightly, they walked through the cold halls until they reached the door. The agent inserted the key, turned it, and nothing happened. "Jammed," he muttered. Keanu stepped forward, took a deep breath, and gave the door a hard shove. It groaned open. Inside, dust floated in the air like ash, while boxers lined the walls. One box sat in the center, wrapped in duct tape. Labeled only with a small black dot. Agent Thomas crouched and opened it. Inside were documents, hospital forms, lab notes, but also photos. Images of people strapped to beds, people in pain, people who weren't supposed to be patients. "What is this?" Keanu asked, kneeling beside him. The agent flipped through the pages. "Off-the-record trials. Unapproved. Testing. Looks like Robert was a whistleblower. Someone hid him in plain sight. This could burn half a dozen powerful names." "And now Janice is the loose end," Keanu said. The agent nodded. "We have to move her again. Somewhere safer." "Need federal protection?" Keanu stood. "No, she stays close. If you can't protect her, I will." The agent stared at him. "You're serious?" "We're dead serious." Just then, Keanu's phone buzzed even, though he'd turned it off. A strange message appeared on the screen. "You shouldn't have opened the box." Keanu showed it to the agent. "They're watching us," the agent whispered. Keanu single quotes heart. Pounded. "We need to leave now." As they walked out of the locker, a car rolled slowly past the gates. Tinted windows. "No plates and sinks kicked in? Run," said. They jumped into the agent's car and sped off. Back at the apartment, Janice looked out the window nervously. Eli sat on the floor holding her hand tightly. She whispered, "Please. Come back, please." Keanu's voice rang in her ears. "I promise." But promises don't always hold when danger is one step ahead. And across town, someone else had just received a photo. A blurry shot of Keanu Reeves leaving the storage facility. Message was sent from an encrypted device. "He's involved now. Change the plan." They're not hiding anymore back at the apartment. The quiet was too perfect. Janice tried to distract Eli with a deck of worn-out playing cards. They played quietly, sitting cross-legged on the new carpet. But every creak in the hallway, every rumble outside, made Janice flinch. She had seen enough in her life to know when peace was just the silence before the storm. Eli noticed her hand shaking. He reached out and gently held it. "He'll come back," Eli whispered. "He said he would." Janice smiled weakly. "I know, sweetheart." But deep down, a fear grew stronger. Not for herself, but for the people getting involved, especially Keanu. She never wanted him in danger. He was just a kind soul passing by. And now he was standing between her and something much darker than she had ever imagined. Meanwhile, Keanu and Agent Thomas sped through the city. The documents they had found in the storage locker weren't just illegal, they were explosive. They revealed a hidden program run through backdoor hospital funding. Patients with no families, no voices, used for experimental drug trials. And someone had gone to great lengths to bury it. Keanu clenched his fists as the agent explained it. "How many?" Keanu asked, voice tight. "At least a dozen clinics, maybe more. Hidden under layers of shell companies. And Robert Lyle was going to expose them." "Yes," the agent said. And Janice was the last person to see him alive. Keanu stared ahead, jaw locked. She's not going to disappear. Not while I'm breathing. When they reached the apartment complex, the building was too quiet. No children playing, no music from open windows, just stillness. Keanu stepped out first, heart pounding. Something didn't feel right. He entered the hallway. The door to Janice's unit was ajar. He rushed forward. "Janice." "Eli." No answer, Agent. Thomas drew his weapon. They entered carefully. No one was there. The apartment was turned over. Couch cushions scattered, kitchen drawers open. Janice's crutches lying on the floor. Keanu single quotes, his chest tightened. Then he spotted Atili's toy car on the windowsill, perfectly placed, not fallen or thrown. "A message. They left it," Keanu said. "He left that car to let me know he wasn't taken by force. They ran." Agent Thomas nodded. Then they knew someone was coming. Keanu spotted the envelope. Tucked under the cushion, he opened it and read aloud, "Don't follow us. They were watching. We'll hide."
Thank you for everything.
Keanu sat down, trying to calm his racing heart. Agent Thomas checked his phone. "I've already sent out alerts. We'll scan every street camera in the area. If they left on foot or by cab, we'll find them." Keanu shook his head. "No, they're smarter than that. She's trained. She's a nurse. She'll go where? No one looks someplace cold, quiet. Maybe a church. Maybe an abandoned building." Just then, Thomas's phone pinged. A grainy street cam image appeared. Janice, with a hood over her head, pushing a grocery cart with Eli hidden inside. They were heading into an alley off Normandy Boulevard, an old part of the city filled with closed shops and boarded-up motels. "Let's go," Keanu said. They drove fast. Weaving through traffic until they reached the block, Keanu got out, running through the alley, calling softly, "Janice, Eli." A faint noise came from behind a dumpster. Keanu moved closer and found Janice crouched, shielding Eli. They were both shivering. Janice's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know what else to do." Keanu knelt beside them. "You did the right thing. You stayed alive. You protected him." Eli threw his arms around Keanu. "I knew you'd come." Agent Thomas looked around. "You can't stay here. They'll track this footage too." "Then we disappear on our own terms," Keanu said. "Get them out of the city, not to a safe house. Not government protection. Something private, something clean." Thomas made another call. "I know someone, a retired marshal. Off-the-grid place, forest line, up north." They left under the cover of night. Keanu rode in the back seat with Janice and Eli, holding Eli's hand while he slept with his head on Keanu's shoulder. Janice whispered, "You don't owe us this." Keanu looked at her eyes, tired but calm. "It's not about debt. It's about what's right." 6 hours later, they reached a cabin surrounded by pine trees and silence. A soft mist floated over the hills. Birds sang in the distance. Number. Cameras, no towers, no traffic. They were safe for now. The marshal, a kind old man named Cal, Welcome them without asking questions. As long as you're breathing. You're my guests, he said. The next few days passed quietly. Eli helped Cal feed chickens and learned to chop firewood. Janice rested and began to walk better. In Keanu he stayed. Every morning he made breakfast. Every evening he read stories to Eli. But danger wasn't far behind. Back in Los Angeles, the agent's office was broken into. Files stolen. Computers wiped. Agent Thomas received a message on his personal phone. Stay out, or we'll bury you like the rest. He called Keanu immediately. They know who you are, he said. They know you were involved, and they're not afraid of going after you directly now. Keanu walked to the edge of the forest, staring into the dark trees. Then let them come, he said. But this time we're not hiding. For the first time since that day on the sidewalk, Keanu felt something clear in his chest. This wasn't about a single act of kindness. Anymore, this was a fight for justice, and he was ready. Stepping into the stormed cabin deep in the northern woods was quiet, almost too quiet. Snow had started falling the night before, coating the world outside in a soft blanket of white. But inside Keanu's mind, a storm was building. For days they had lived in the safety of the trees. Eli was laughing again. Janice was sleeping. Without nightmares, Cal, the retired marshal, taught Eli how to track birds, how to listen to the wind. There was peace in the way the trees stood tall, bothered by the world, but peace doesn't last when truth is buried. Keanu sat at the wooden kitchen table, staring at the documents Agent Thomas had copied before the break-in. Even now, just reading the pages made his stomach twist. Photos of sick patients locked away. Lists of names without families, medical records stamped unofficial. They were invisible people, used, forgotten, and someone had built an empire on their suffering. Keanu looked out the window at Eli, who was building a crooked snowman with Cal. This boy's act of kindness had pulled him into this storm. But now, Keanu had a choice: stay hidden or fight back. He stood. I need to do something, he told Janice quietly. She looked up from the chair near the fire. You've already done everything. Not yet, he said. People behind this are exposed. Agent Thomas had gone dark for 2 days. When he finally called, his voice was rough and low. They're cleaning house, he said. Whistleblowers, retired workers, anyone who might talk, some are disappearing. Keanu clenched the phone. What do we do? I found something, Thomas said. A flash drive. Someone hid it in the frame of a patient's wheelchair. Security footage, conversations, everything. Enough to make the whole program burn.
Send
it to me, Keanu said. Already did, but be careful. Once you go public with this, you'll be a target. Keanu hung up and took a deep breath. He turned to Janice and showed her the drive. It's time, he said. I'm going to speak out. She grabbed his hand. They'll come for you. They're already watching, he said. But I'm done staying quiet. He left. The next morning, he told Cal to keep Eli and Janice safe. Eli begged to come along. I want to help, the boy said. Keanu knelt down. You already did. You helped just by being kind. Now let me carry that forward. The drive to the city was long and silent. Keanu called a friend in the media, someone he trusted, someone who owed him a favor. A woman named Alina, a journalist who had once exposed a major pharmaceutical scandal. You said if I ever had something big, Keanu told her, you'd listen. How big? She asked. This could bring down half the healthcare board. He said. She agreed to meet at a private studio. Keanu arrived with the flash drive tucked inside a notebook. He wore a simple coat, hat pulled low, no entourage, just a man carrying truth. Alina plugged in the drive. She didn't speak as she watched the files, hidden footage of boardroom meetings, quiet conversations in back halls, whispers about patients no one would miss. One clip made her gasp, a doctor speaking calmly into a recorder. The trial has entered stage 3. Patients are responding, but those who show failure signs are removed from the program. No funerals, no questions. Janice Evans almost discovered the file. Patient Lyle warned her. We can't risk her talking. Lena looked at Keanu. This is enough to blow it wide open. Then do it, he said. But don't hide me from it. I want to be part of it. Let the world know this isn't just about a file. It's about Eli, it's about Janice, about all the invisible people. She nodded. We'll go live in 2 hours. Keanu stayed in the studio, watched as editors prepared, watched as the lights came on. Then the broadcast started. Across the country, people saw it Keanu Reeves, sitting quietly beside Alina, telling the world about the boy who held a cardboard sign, about a mother with a broken foot, about a clinic. That should have healed, but instead hid monsters. He didn't cry, he didn't rage, he simply spoke with truth. In his voice, "I'm not a doctor," he said. "I'm not a politician. I'm an actor. But more than that, I'm a man who saw something real, and I couldn't walk away." The broadcast shook the nation. The internet exploded. News stations replayed the interview. Shash flooded the feed. #InvisibleLives, #Eli and Janice, #Keanu speaks out in deep inside government buildings. The people behind the program started to panic, but they weren't done. Just as Keanu stepped outside the studio, he received a call from Cal. His voice was tense. "They found us." Keanu froze. "Black van, no plates. Parked outside the woods. They haven't moved in yet, but they're watching." Keanu's blood turned cold. "I'm on my way." He didn't wait for security, didn't call the police. He just drove faster than he had ever driven in his life. By the time he reached the cabin, night had fallen. Snow covered the tracks, but Cal had lit a torch at the edge of the woods. Keanu ran through the trees, heart pounding inside. Janice was ready. Eli clung to her side. "They haven't tried to come in," Cal said, rifle in hand. "But they're waiting. Watching." Keanu looked through binoculars. 2 men inside a dark van. No lights, no movement. "They're waiting for the story to fade," he said. "But it won't." Just then, Agent Thomas arrived. "I brought help," he said. 2 federal vehicles rolled up behind him. Real protection. This time, not fake promises. "They can't touch you now," Thomas said. Keanu looked at Eli, who stood near the window. "Are we safe?" Eli asked. Keanu knelt. "Not yet, but we're fighting. We're not alone anymore." He turned to Thomas. "What happens next?" "We arrest them," Thomas said. "We burn down the network." "And you?" Keanu shook his head. "I'm not going back to hiding. I'm staying. I want to see this through." And as the snow fell heavier, a fire began to grow in the hearts of everyone in that cabin, because one boy held a sign, and one man chose to stop, and now the world was watching. The sign that changed the world. Morning broke gently over the snowy forest. White flakes clung to pine needles. Sunlight slipped through the trees in quiet beams. Inside the cabin, the warmth of the fire met the tension that still lived in everyone's breath. Keanu Reeves hadn't slept much. He had spent most of the night sitting near the window, watching the woods, thinking about everything that had happened, the people they had lost, the voices that had been silenced, the ones who still didn't have a voice. But most of all, a boy who had asked for nothing but a smile for his mother. And now, the boy's quiet plea had cracked something far bigger. Open. Janice stirred in her chair beside the fire. She opened her eyes and looked at Keanu. "You should rest," she said gently. "I can't," he whispered. "Not yet." A knock on the door made everyone freeze. It was Agent Thomas. "We've made the first arrests," he said. The broadcast worked. 2 hospital board members already turned themselves in. They're talking now. The files you handed over started a chain reaction. Keanu stood slowly. "What about the others? Some are trying to run." "But they're being tracked. International agencies are joining in. It's too big to contain now." Keanu nodded. "Good." But Thomas hesitated. "There's one thing you should know. Someone leaked your location. There's chatter online. Half the world wants to thank you. The other half wants to silence you." Keanu looked out the window, then let them come. I'm not hiding anymore." Within hours, news crews started showing up near the woods. They weren't allowed near the cabin, but they camped on the edge of the property. Drones flew overhead. Fans held signs. Others stood quietly, unsure what to say. just needing to see the man who had spoken for thee. Voiceless Keanu could have escaped. He could have flown out, disappeared. But instead, he walked outside into the snow without a bodyguard or a press team. Reporters shouted questions. Microphones thrust forward, but Keanu didn't answer with a speech. He simply pulled something. Out from his coat, a small piece of cardboard. He held it up. On it were 5 words, written in a child's shaky handwriting. "Help my mom smile today." Silence swept the crowd. No more needed to be said. The story wasn't about him. It never was. Back in the city, protests began. People marched with cardboard signs, not expensive ones, not professional banners, just torn boxes with handwritten messages. I matter, invisible, no more. Listen to our pain. Janice's story became a symbol for nurses everywhere who had been forgotten. Eli became a voice for children who had lost homes, whose parents had been pushed aside. And Keanu, he became the bridge. Not a hero, not a savior. Just a man who stopped to see what others walked past. 1 month later, the government announced new healthcare transparency laws. 5 hospitals were shut down. A national fund was created for survivors of illegal trials, and every major news network ran a headline with the same image Keanu Reeves holding. A piece of cardboard in the snow. In a quiet ceremony in Washington, Janice was honored. She didn't speak much, just stood beside her son, hand in his. Eli wore a suit too big for him. He held the cardboard sign again, now framed in glass. The president shook their hands. Keanu stood in the back, wearing the same old coat, trying to stay out of the spotlight, but Eli found him. "We did it," the boy said. Keanu smiled. "You did it?" Eli looked up. "What now?" Keanu looked at the cameras, the reporters, the world waking up. "Now," he said softly, "we keep going." The cabin became more than a shelter. It became a retreat for families who had been hurt. Cal built extra rooms. Nurses came to volunteer. Janice returned to helping people not as an employee, but as a healer. Keanu visited often, sometimes to speak with new survivors, sometimes just to sit by the fire. And one snowy afternoon, as Eli sat drawing by the window, Keanu asked him, "What are you drawing?" Eli turned the sketchbook around. It was a picture of Keanu, standing beside a boy with a sign. The caption read, "The day the world stopped and listened." Keanu looked at the drawing for a long time. He didn't say a word, but in his eyes, there was peace. Months later, in schools across the country, teachers told their students about a moment that changed things, not with anger, not with protest, but with quiet courage. They told the story of a boy who didn't ask for money, who didn't scream or beg. He just stood there, holding a sign. And a man who chose to stop walking, who chose to listen. And in that moment, a spark began, a reminder. That change doesn't always come with a shout. Sometimes it begins with a whisper. Sometimes it begins with kindness. And sometimes it begins when one person decides not to look away.